Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Women in Energy Entrepreneurship, Business Models for Off-Grid Energy and Impact. We're really pleased to welcome you here today. I'm Molly Hurley-Dupre with the Smart Villages Initiative. We're also co-hosting this, as usual, with the Low Carbon Energy for Development Network, based in the UK, also known as LCEDN. And we're pleased to welcome several wonderful speakers today to our webinar. Our first speaker will be Fatima Adamo of AJIMA Farms Limited. Our second speaker will be Sergina L'Oncle of Copernic. Our third speaker will be Ifi Malo of Power for All. And our last speaker will be Simbo Sojanrin of Solar Sister. So we're very pleased to have you here today. Just a few reminders here at the very beginning of our webinar. We will take questions throughout the webinar, so if there's something that the speaker says that interests you, please feel free to send in a question for them, and we'll be assigning those questions to the speakers, and we'll also take up some of those questions in our question and answer session after all of the speakers have spoken. As well, please, when you send your questions, please let us know who they're for, and that'll help us assign them better to them. Also, if you're on Twitter, feel free to tweet about this webinar with the hashtag SVWebinar. That's down in the chat box as well. And as well, you can tweet at us. So we're at E4 Smart Villages and also at UK LCEDN. That's also down in the chat box. And feel free as well to sign up for the Smart Villages newsletter. I've included the link for the sign up there as well in the chat box. So here at the top of the hour, we're going to go ahead and do two quick polls. I see people are still entering the webinar little by little. We've got a great turnout today, and we're really excited to have you all here. So let me just start our first poll. This poll is, where do you live? So this should come up on your screen. You should be able to respond to that. And I'm just going to give you a second to respond there. So where do you live? Probably we have a pretty small North America and South America audience today since it's a little early for them, but maybe on the East Coast. Or are you in Africa and the Middle East? Maybe in Europe? Or maybe in Asia and Australia? So I'll just give you another few seconds there to go ahead and vote, and then we'll show everybody the results of that poll. So wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for voting. All right, I'm just sharing the results of that poll with you. Wonderful. So we've got we have about 6% in North America this early morning. So thank you very much for waking up so early and joining us. 22% in Africa and the Middle East, 59% in Europe, and 13% in Asia. Wonderful. So I'm just going to do one more poll, and this one is about what is your profession or your field of work. So let me just launch that one and give you all a few seconds as well to fill that one in. So what is your profession or field of work? Are you a researcher? Are you in academia? Are you a policymaker or perhaps working in the government? Are you an entrepreneur yourself? Are you working at a nonprofit? Or perhaps you're in the private sector? So I'll just give you another few seconds to go ahead and fill that one in. I see everybody's voting quite rapidly, so wonderful. And thanks for joining us here. If you're just joining the webinar, Women in Energy Entrepreneurship, Business Models for Off-Grid Energy and Social Impact, Part 2. We're really pleased to have you here today. Let me go ahead and close that and share that one with you so we can see the results. All right, so we've got 31% of you who are working as researchers or in academia, 1% in government, 14% of you are entrepreneurs, 27% of you work at nonprofits, and 26% of you are in the private sector. Wonderful. Thank you so much for filling in that poll. So wonderful. What I'm going to do now is actually go to our first presenter. So we're
unmuted.
Sorry. We're just going to go to our first speaker. That will be Fatima Adamo this morning. Let me just take Fatima off of mute here. Hi, Fatima. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you, Molly.
Wonderful. I'm just going to ask you to share your screen. I'm just going to ask you to share your screen. Wonderful. And that should just take a second here, and we will be able to see your presentation. Thanks for for your patience. We're just getting that set up. Okay, wonderful.
Okay.
So Fatima, thank you so much for joining us here today. We're really looking forward to hearing from you. You are kind of our first presenter, partly because of alphabetical order, but also because you yourself are an entrepreneur, and we're very interested to hear about women who are energy entrepreneurs, and we're excited to learn about your work in agriculture and your work with biomass and biodigesters. So I will just put myself on mute and let you take it away. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Molly. Can you see my screen now? Hello?
Apologies, Fatima. Sorry, I was just having difficulty getting myself off of mute there. Yes, I see your screen, so that's perfect. It's full screen. Thank you.
Okay.
So please carry on.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. I'm Fatima Oiza Ademo from AJIMA Farms and General Enterprises Nigeria Limited. I will just start off with a brief introduction of who we are at AJIMA Farms. So AJIMA Farms started up as a commercial farm in 2003, having operations in crop production and animal husbandry. And in 2012, we started the Youth Agro Entrepreneurs, which is basically a training program focused on enhancing and improving participation of youth in agriculture and teaching them basic skills, especially in terms of entrepreneurship. As we have in Nigeria, we have a lot of high youth unemployment and really few youth participating in agriculture. So we decided to do this to draw more youth into agriculture and also equip them with entrepreneurship skills to for them to use those skills in building their agriculture and treating it as a business and not just as a passion. And then in 2014, as a close working relationship with a lot of farmers who most especially live in rural off-grid villages, we decided to launch the Renewable Energy Division, starting with our first operation, our first project in 2015. So the problem statement we have energy poverty in rural off-grid communities, which really has several negative consequences on the quality of life of people living in these communities. Unfortunately, most of these people affected are the women and girls in those communities, as they have to clean with unclean cooking stove, use of biomass, which has a very big consequences on their health, and also having issues of biodegradable and agricultural waste in these agricultural communities. So just to give you a background, we have 70% of people living in sub-Saharan Africa are without access to electricity. This represents over 600 million people. To go specific into Nigeria, we have over 93 million people who are without access to grid electricity. This is from a population of about 173 million. Electricity generation in Nigeria fluctuates between 1,500 to 4,500 megawatts. In my location, so I'm in Abuja, which is the capital, and in Abuja, I'm in Kuje, which is one of the 6 area councils in Abuja. I have profiled over 260 off-grid villages. And then we have over 500 metric tons of organic waste generated within Kuje, and that is because Kuje is a food basket of Abuja. So just to give you some background information. So in 2015, due to our relationship with several of these off-grid rural communities, we really saw the need to create an energy project that would be able to provide or give them access to some sort of electricity using local resources. And we went into biogas because most of these communities are rural off-grid agricultural community, meaning they had access to a lot of agricultural waste, which is the input for any biodigester system. So we kicked off this project in Rijé community. Rijé, it's a community of about 300 residents, 60 households, mainly youth in this community. We have a completion timeline of 23rd of September, that is next month. We're just about finishing up our mini grid system. We have our digesters already constructed and complete. The capacity of our digester is at 124 cubic meter, and our initial generation capacity is going to be 20 kilowatts, which can be expanded up to 50 kilowatt based on our mini grid as the project expands or as the demand grows. So for those who don't have a background in biogas, I'll just give a brief introduction of biogas. So basically, we convert biodegradable waste. So this could be food waste, vegetable waste, it could be agricultural waste, waste from animal droppings, waste from crop, through an anaerobic process where they are put into a biodigester. It gets broken down, and then we get methane gas, methane, which is the biogas, with some form of impurity like sulfur oxide, which we clean out to generate gas. This biogas then powers a biogas generator, and then electricity is generated, which is going to be distributed through a mini grid system. So a bit about our business model. So we will be generating revenue from the sale of electricity, and in choosing the community to work in, we were focused on community that had the potential for commercial activities, because we didn't want to be providing electricity for a community that would only use it to watch televisions or charge phones. It will mean that it won't be sustainable in terms of them paying for access to electricity. So we chose community who had potentials for productive uses. So as I said earlier, this is an agricultural community. All households are involved in some sort of agriculture, so meaning they need electricity also for the agricultural activity apart from needing it for their households. So sale will be generated from the sale of revenue will be generated from the sale of electricity to both households and businesses. We would also be selling biofertilizer. So biofertilizer is a byproduct from the biogas system. The biogas, you get a slurry form and a solid form of biofertilizer, which is actually good and better for the soil than the chemical fertilizers. We're also going to be deploying clean cooking technologies, use of biogas stove to this community. And our fourth revenue generation model is the replication of this project on our YAE. So as I introduced, the YAE is a youth agro training program, and we're trying to cluster the youths who have gone through our program and are doing poultry farms in similar locations so they can aggregate their waste and do that project in partnership with us. Doing this, meaning they'll be able to create electricity for their operations, but also power nearby communities. And then finally, we have the consultancy services. A lot of commercial farms in the country are actually quite interested in this project. This will be the first biogas to energy project, to power project in the best of our knowledge in Nigeria. So a lot of farms are interested but still skeptical on the technology. So we always consider our project as a proof of concept. So our target market are off-grid businesses, off-grid residents. We also have some schools who are off-grid, and we have commercial farm clusters, especially in the northern region where we have big commercial farms. We plan to extend these solutions to them and make them into clusters where we build a system for about 3 to 8 businesses, for example, and then they can aggregate their resources in their environment in generating their own electricity, which would also reduce the cost for each of the farms rather than each one of them building their biodigesters and having their biogas generators. And then we would also be working with both commercial and local farms in terms of sale of our liquid digestate, which is a biofertilizer. So business economics. Currently in VJ community that we're about finishing our project, each household spends on average $20 to access basic electricity need. So this community is totally off-grid. This $20 is spent on paying someone to charge their mobile phone, buying batteries for flashlights and buying cooking wood fuel, which is quite high for a rural off-grid community who basically probably has just one or two phones within their household and a couple of flashlights. It's not just expensive, but it's also very unclean access to electricity, as most of these operators are based on either diesel or petrol generators. With our biogas system, we've projected a monthly tariff of around $15 which would provide access to power a TV, charge mobile phones, run a refrigerator, and power a couple of light bulbs within the households. I'll speak more now on the impact side of this project. Electricity access has the opportunity and potential to create social and economic development in any community, and we'll speak to particularly what kind of impact will be seen in Wijay community. So Wijay community currently they do not have an automated water system. So as a result of having energy access, they will be able to create an automated water pumping system, meaning the women and girls in this community would not have to travel for up to 3-4 kilometers a day to fetch water. They would have water within their immediate environment. The community security will be enhanced because it's a rural and off-grid community. At night is pitch black and they are at risk of being attacked, especially again the women in those communities. They don't have a primary healthcare center, which is likely because they don't have access to electricity, and the healthcare providers have said we won't. Running a generator to provide healthcare is just too expensive, but with access to electricity, they will be able to attract a primary healthcare provider. Because the community is an agricultural community and they plant both perishable and non-perishable commodities, most of the perishable commodities go to waste during the harvest season because they do not have access to storage. But with electricity, they can build a small cooling system which they can use in storing most of their vegetables, which is something the youth are actually working on currently to design a plan and source the financing to do that. Would also be building capacities of the youth within this community, as we've already trained some of the youth to maintain the biogas systems and the operations, because it's just more cheaper and more reliable getting your labor from within the environment than having to bring in labor from outside the environment to maintain and operate this system. The women, the kids, and the youth would also benefit from this energy system as a result of having extended hours of lighting study. Usually at night by 7 p.m. if you have to study or do some kind of work, you need to use a candle or a kerosene lamp. But with this, which most families can't even afford, so the students in those communities, when it's evening, they can't do anything, they can't do any studying. But with access to electricity, they would be able to study for extended hours of time. It would also free up time for the women and girls in this community to engage in other productive ventures. It would reduce their energy bill, and not just reducing energy bill, but also giving them access to cleaner energy, which would improve their health and lifestyle. We would also be deploying healthier cooking stove, which again will reduce, these stoves will not be producing the amount of smoke that the traditional biomass pit fire or kerosene stove produces. It would also be adding value to the agricultural products, as they can now participate in in processing some of the agricultural products. And then it would also give them extended hours for economic activity. So the shop owner in the community currently closes his shop when it's 6 to 7 p.m. because it's too dark and he can't operate. And he's also limited with the amount of things and the kind of things he can sell in his shop. But with access to electricity, it means he can extend the opening of his shop for up to 11 p.m., have at least 3 to 4 additional hours of economic activity, and also extend to selling perishable goods within his store. Using a biogas system also reduces greenhouse gases, as most of the waste which we use in our own system, it's from animal manure, which usually are left in the open field and emit methane, which is a very potent gas, into the environment. So using this in a biogas system would also be reducing the greenhouse gas emissions.
Hi, Fatima.
So some of the less.
Hi, Fatima.
Hello,
It's Molly
Molly.
here. I may need to move on to the next speaker if that's okay. Do you think we could come back to some of your lessons learned and your challenges in the Q&A session at the end?
Yes, that's perfect. This is my last slide.
Oh,
So we
perfect.
can move
Okay.
on.
Okay. Fabulous. Well, feel free to finish up your last slide then. No problem.
Okay. So the lesson learned and challenges. Lesson learned is your stakeholder engagement. It's very, very important, especially at the initial stage, and especially when you're working in small communities. You need to have close, strong tie with the community and with all the factions within the community. So the youth group, the women's group, the traditional group, the religious group. This really helped us a lot in building this project to ensure its sustainability. Also building capacity within the local community so you have access to labor, which would also be not just readily available but also cheaper because it's within the vicinity. For us, biogas to power, it's relatively new in Nigeria, as I said, because we don't have anyone doing this at a commercial capacity. So it also represents a proof of concept which would help us scale up our system. And then if you're looking to do a similar system back within your own locality, you need to ensure you have sustainability and diversity of waste, because waste is the most important ingredient in the system, and if you're not situated next to a location that generates waste, then you're going to have issues with maintaining that system. And then one of the challenges, or the main challenges we're facing, is tipping fee. So usually in Europe or the Americas, the government would usually pay waste facilities tipping fee for handling the waste. In Nigeria, we still don't have the tipping fee, and we're currently lobbying to see if we can have a tipping fee which in Europe and America makes up to 60% of the income for a waste treatment facility. If you have any questions, I look forward to answering some of that during the Q&A session. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Fatima.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you. So that was a really great presentation, really looking at one specific case, and especially this kind of connection between agriculture, energy, the work that women and girls do in the household as well. So that's really, really interesting, and we'll come back to you during the Q&A session. So right now we're just going to move on to our next speaker. This is Sergina Long. Sergina, are you there?
Yeah, hi Molly.
Hi, I know it's evening for you because you're in Bali. I'm just going to ask you to share your screen. So good evening to you. And yeah,
you see full screen now?
Perfect. Absolutely. Thank you so much. So we're really excited to hear about the Wonder Women program in Indonesia. So I will let you go straight into your presentation. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Hi everyone. So as Molly has said, my name is Regina Long. I'll be presenting about one of Copernic's program, but first of all, please let me introduce what Copernic is. So Copernic is an Indonesian-based organization established in 2010 with our mission to connect simple technology with last-mile community to reduce poverty. How do we implement this mission? One of the programs that we have been implementing since 2011 is Women's Economic Empowerment through Energy Access Project in Indonesia. Why women? Because in Indonesia, providing for a household cooking, drinking water and lighting needs is largely the responsibility of women in rural areas. So women in rural areas are burdened by the time it takes to collect cooking fuel, the time it takes to cook over inefficient traditional cookstove, and the time it takes to boil water to make it safe to drink. Women's activities at night are also limited by access to electricity, which ranges from unreliable to non-existent. Not to mention that women and children are also exposed to excessive smoking when they are cooking over traditional cook stoves, as we can see also on the slides. So with all these challenges, this energy poverty affects women the most. I think Fatima also mentioned about this on her presentation. So our Women's Economic Empowerment Program is called as Wonder Women Program. This program empowers women to become micro-social entrepreneurs. They're boosting their income while making clean energy technologies available in last-mile communities. We currently work with 560 women, Wonder Women micro-social entrepreneurs across Indonesia, who have sold more than 22,000 clean energy products today and helping in reducing carbon dioxide emissions by an estimated 15,000 tons. So how does this program work? The Wonder Woman undergo this empowerment journey when they join the program. We recruit and manage the micro-social entrepreneurs, or as we call them as Wonder Women, through partnership with existing organizations, networks, cooperatives, and also savings and credit groups, or independently by our field staff in the field. The program provides women with various trainings such as technology use and maintenance, sales and marketing, bookkeeping, and also public speaking to allow them to start their empowerment journey. So these training sessions equip them with the skills and confidence to succeed technology sales business that brings benefits not only to themselves but also to household or family and their community. The women stock up their inventory of technologies such as water filter, solar lights, and clean cook stove, sell these technologies and earn a margin on every sale they make. Our program team then provide continued support and mentoring in business development and entrepreneurship to the Wonder Women. Once recruited, we work with the Wonder Women over a 1 to 3 year period to develop them into skilled entrepreneurs who run a successful business. We currently implement this program in 8 districts across Indonesia, reaching the last mile communities in Indonesia. The next question then, how does the technology reaching the last mile in a country as large and geographically dispersed as Indonesia? Copernic builds a technology distribution network across Indonesia that requires a good supply chain management. We identify appropriate technologies for target communities. We source technologies from the producers. We create efficient supply chains to get the technologies to our warehouse, then discharge the technologies to our Wonder Women and also track its movement in our warehouse stock. So for instance, for technologies distribution in Eastern Indonesia, technologies are shipped from Surabaya, which is the capital city of East Java, to Kupang, the capital city of East Nusa Tenggara, that takes at least 1 week by boat. And then from Kupang to other islands, because this province has at least 1,000 islands. So from Kupang to another islands in East Nusa Tenggara by small boats. So we use any means of transportation, boats, trucks, motorbikes, like from the port to our field office or to local partner by small trucks. Then our Wonder Women will collect the technologies, or our field staff will deliver the technologies to their place by motorbikes or even wheelbarrow. And finally, the Wonder Women will walk between villages in some location to promote and sell the technologies. Making these simple, clean energy technologies available in remote villages has a huge impact on women's life. So we measure the program impacts through baseline and follow-up surveys. For example, after 6 months joining the program, the top 20% of Wonder Women have their monthly income increased almost $60 through the technology sales. That's the average of almost 14 technologies sold per month. Other than economic impacts, we also measured other aspects of personal benefits. For instance, their aspiration. As it is shown on the chart, the top two of their fulfilled aspiration are additional income that have fulfilled for 89% for them, and 44% of them have fulfilled their aspiration in improving the lives of community. The impacts then are not only to the Wonder Women but also to their family and their community. In their family, for example, the Wonder Women use their margins to fulfill their immediate household needs. Like the top three of the income use are 39% of them use their extra income to purchase more or better foods, provide better education for their children, and also to continue their personal education. And in their community, 40% of the Wonder Women perceive that they have improved their status in their community, and 19% of them also reported that they increased their participation in the community since they joined the program. So as an individual, the Wonder Women gain extra income, new experience, new skills. They gaining confidence in their ability to succeed as business women, and also they gaining a new network of friends. As housewives, mothers, or daughters, they earn extra money to support their families that brings to their involvement in decision making within the family. And in their community, they are considered as superheroes as they're making clean energy technology available in the last mile, and they are inspiring others through what they have achieved. They also believe that they succeed in improving the living standard of their community by making clean energy technologies accessible that leads to their participation and influence on others in their community. Other than that, we also measure the impacts of the technologies towards the technology users. Based on impact assessment towards 134 tech users, 93% of them claim that using these technologies help them in time saving. 92% of users report that they increase in their productivity, and 92.7% of them report that they perceive life improvement. With all these impacts, we believe that women have a vital role to play in expanding energy access and creating a cleaner, healthier, and safer environment for themselves, for their families, and for future generations. This program is funded by Energia, the international network on gender and sustainable energy. So with their great support as our funder and also partner, we are also advocating this women's economic empowerment through a campaign called Indonesian Women for Energy, because we would like to share stories and evidence to prove that empowering women to sell simple, affordable, clean energy technologies in last mile communities is an effective way of expanding energy access. Through this campaign, we invited some of the Wonder Women to attend several events at the national level to voice and showcase their important roles in expanding energy access, and also to encourage the Indonesian government and donors to allocate investment to energy programs which reflect women's needs and create new economic opportunities for women, as well as to integrate gender perspective in national energy policies and action plan. Fatima also highlight the importance roles of the stakeholders, like how we how we engage the stakeholders also for the programs. And also we invite all Indonesians to step up and support the acceleration of energy access for the poor and for people living in the last mile communities. With this effort, we highly hope that that we would like to see a shift in viewing women as victims of energy poverty to seeing women as vital actors in driving forward clean energy solutions. This is my last slide. To end my presentation, here I share a statement from one of our Wonder Women, Mama Mia. If you would like to see a video, I think Molly will share the link of our video to one or two of our Wonder Women. So Mama Mia say, I am grateful because people in my village are now using cheaper and healthier technologies. As a Wonder Woman, besides saving money, I also have the opportunity to introduce clean energy technologies that help people around me for a better life. That's the end of my presentation. I look forward to discuss during the Q&A session. Thank you so much, everyone.
Oh, thank you so much, Sergina.
Molly, back to you.
Thank you so much, Sergina. Wonderful. Thank you. That is a really excellent example, I think, of, I like this link that she made between aspiration and inspiration. And it's very important to look at what are the women's aspirations, what do they want out of life, and you can see very clearly they want to better their communities, improve their own livelihoods, and really make a difference in the world. So it's really a pleasure to see this presentation. We will now move to Ife Malo, and Ife, I'm just going to send you a request to share your screen. Are you there on the line with me?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, I can hear you. Well, welcome today. We're really looking forward to hearing about your work for Power for All in Nigeria, and specifically, you know, how it's connected to changing women's lives in particular. So I see your presentation is full screen. That's perfect. So I will just put myself on mute and let you continue with your presentation.
Thank you so much, and it's been such a pleasure to listen to the earlier presenters because they make our work at Power for All so easy. So Power for All is a global campaign BRE organization, and it's been around for, I think, a couple of years now. In Nigeria, we just started in June. And what we are trying to do is to accelerate the growth of DRE as the best solution to universal energy access. As a global campaign organization, we also serve as a collective voice for businesses and civil society focused on off-grid solutions. And we also believe that distributed renewables are the fastest and most effective path to modern energy in emerging markets such as those in Nigeria. So there are a number of reasons why we have this core belief and underlying principle of Power for All. First of all is the fact that there's a $12 billion US dollars per market industry, and it continues to grow. If the growth trajectory that we see now continues to grow, I think we might sort of double that number in another 5 to 10 years. And for also looking at the presentations that have gone before mine, you can see that it has the ability to power jobs. Specifically, we're looking at some of the numbers we have are like 4.5 million jobs, and also to light up almost 100 million homes by 2020. But one of the more important things for us, and me talking from an African perspective, is the fact that there are an estimated 1 billion potential new customers, because there are estimated 1 billion people who continue to live without electricity, and many of those people continue to live in African countries, like mine in Nigeria. And so the other thing we look at is to see how we can reduce emissions from things like kerosene lamps and diesels, and also to grow the off-grid appliance market, which is also another associated industry. So really, we see no excuse for not going decentralized, because we think, that it is the quickest way to electrify those who are currently without electricity. Now, Power for All is comprised of a core implementation team, a steering committee, and we have ambassadors and partners. But the core of our work is actually through partnerships with companies, NGOs, investors, think tanks, universities, and trade associations. And we're currently funded by the UK government and Climate Works. That's how we get our funding. Our core operating principle in our Nigerian market is a communications-based approach to look at business and investors and government, and also to try and work with policymakers at the federal, state, and local levels to try and make sure that DRE is mainstreamed and that the action plans for DRE are actually realistic and can actually help drive and grow the market in very, very credible ways. We also get involved in market intelligence, consumer education, and also another core thing that we do is to begin to address issues of access to finance, both in terms of the project developers who are looking for finance to go do projects, and end users who are looking to access finance to be able to take advantage of the promise of the DRE industry in Nigeria. Now, one of the things that we do at Power for All is to do a lot of advocacy. And to do that, you have to understand quite a bit about Nigeria and what some of the challenges have been in terms of our electricity situation. Nigeria lags far behind several developing nations in terms of grid-based electricity penetration. And the disparity that we see between the demand for power and the supply has led to widespread self-generation in commercial, industrial, and even in residential sectors. So we have almost 45% of the population without access to electricity, and those with access face extensive power outages very often. Several of these businesses and communities rely on self-generation, usually through diesel-powered generators. And we've seen a lot of research that shows that this has very negative health outcomes, including environmental degradation, and further lead to increase in the price of doing business and the cost of doing business in the country. However, these unfavorable frameworks actually provide a huge potential for renewable energy and energy efficiency projects in Nigeria, and that's our goal in Power for All, and to look at it as an opportunity to shape the decentralized renewable energy market as a major potential for sustainable energy supply to millions in Nigeria. So some of the things that we try to do is to work on a communications and media-based approach, and the goal is actually to change the perception around distributed renewable as not being complementary to the grid, and also to change the behavior. People are so used to using their diesel generators and their kerosene lamps. By raising awareness about what the downturn of those things are to both the health and the social impact cost of using those things rather than using the cleaner and more efficient source of energy. Some of the key trends we see with women and decentralized renewables in Nigeria is that women are more and more becoming decision makers in Nigeria. We're finding that having electricity empowers them as end users, both in the households, both as jobs, and with the ability for them to grow their small and medium enterprises. You can see from the previous presentation about how this has changed the lives of the women in those areas where renewable has created a sustainable model of electricity for them. So to give you some examples, in Nigeria, for instance, one of the things we see in many rural households is that women are not able to utilize, or who are mostly agricultural farmers, are not able to optimize their productivity because they do not have any way to store most of if they're producing fresh produce, are not able to store those produce because they lack electricity. And they do not have any means to actually grow their farming operations, specifically because they do not have electricity to power some of the utilities that they use in those farms. And also at the policy making level, we're trying to also see, we're trying to mainstream women into many of the policies that coming out in Nigeria. For instance, we have two policies, action documents. One of them is the SE for All implementation document, an action document. And then the other one is the Nigerian Renewable Energy Policy, the first of its kind that we've ever had in the country. And we've actually advocated for a very strong gender inclusiveness in those two policies because we see them as critical in changing the landscape of how this market can grow and should grow. We also see that women, are becoming more and more champions and distributors in the sector. We have quite a number of partners we work with in Nigeria who are women. Some of them are actually here today. You're going to be hearing from Simba later on right after me. But they're actually doing a lot to drive the growth of this market within the industry. And having to work with women themselves within the rural communities to actually make this growth more sustainable is something that we see them as being effective champions in. The other thing is the issue of security and energy security and human security. One of the things that has happened in Nigeria over the past few years is we've had a lot of security concerns, both with Boko Haram and with the herdsmen issues. And this is mainly in rural communities that are completely off-grid and do not have electricity in the first place. So what that has done is completely destabilized. Part of the reason why that happens in the first place, we've had the security issues, is because those communities are so poor and are so underdeveloped that many of the young people there have just decided to take to criminality, seeing no way out of their situation. So having DRE in those communities, I think, is actually one of the core things that we want to see as a way to grow jobs in youth employment, and also ensure that human security to avoid the growing incidence of internally displaced people that we see across the country. And then going further, there are better outcomes there are other outcomes that we see, social outcomes that we see in terms of health, in terms of education, in terms of growth of cottage industries, and even the ability to have community centers that are vibrant and operating even during dusk. Because in most of those communities, like we said earlier, most of those communities by 6 p.m. are completely dark and everybody literally just goes to bed. And that's when life stops by 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And so in Power for All, our stages of engagement are usually, threefold. It's building internal engagement, doing a lot of underground stakeholders engagement to help people understand baseline DRE knowledge and activity, and then building support for some of those things, sharing stories like some of the stories we've heard here today, using some of those case studies and getting them out in the media, in the press, and actually showcasing them at platforms like conferences and events, and also collaborating on specific activities or events with our stakeholders that can actually drive the visibility of the DRE sector. We also do a lot of advisory and policy development through our global advocacy team and on program design with other potential actors in support of the sector. Now, how we engage women in Nigeria using DRE is exactly, that we support and promote strong gender inclusiveness in Power for All activities, particularly in government policy documents. We've been asked to advise and make comments on those two policies I mentioned earlier, which is the Nigerian Renewable Energy Policy, and also on the Sustainable Energy for All action document. And most of our comments were really actually a push for gender inclusiveness, to have strong gender statements and civil society statements so that these people can actually not just be beneficiaries, but can also be, can actually have a role and a voice in shaping how those action documents play out in the future. We're also working with P4All women partners and stakeholders to reflect and showcase their work locally and globally, doing a lot of media and communications, using traditional media and new media, including social media, to showcase their work, and supporting programs and projects that highlight the opportunities for women and girls in Nigeria. For instance, we've been involved in a lot of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM programs for young high school girls in Nigeria and trying to shape their thinking through a Catch Them Young program around electricity and renewables. And some of the outcomes that we're seeing is that we're beginning to build strong partnerships, and we're beginning to see a renewed enlightenment amongst people and the audience about what the potential and the opportunities are for DRE, and also possibly helping to shape the policy and the co-benefits of having women within this DRE space at all levels. Now I'm going to move ahead very quickly. Now I'm going to actually go back to something that many of you might be familiar about. This is the Chibok story. You know that in April 2014, almost 300 young girls were kidnapped from their schools when they were undergoing study period for exams. What you might not know is that the reason that they might have been kidnapped in such high numbers was because of a lack of electricity. Now Chibok is a community in northeastern Nigeria, and in that part of the country, many of the communities like Chibok are completely off-grid, and are really very, very, scattered. So you could drive almost 50 kilometers before you meet another few clusters of homes and communities again. So I was working with the Minister of Power at the time this happened, when that kidnapping happened. And I remember in one of the interactions we had with some of the girls who had escaped and their parents, we had made presentations as government in terms of what we could do to make sure that this never happened again. And some of the girls looked at us and said to us, well, truly the reason that we do not need higher walls and we do not need more security men and soldiers guarding the schools, what would be helpful is if we had electricity. Because the reason we were kidnapped in such high numbers in the first place was because we did not have electricity. When the Boko Haram terrorists had come to the school that night, there was no light. This was at about 9 p.m. And they had come in army fatigues. So the girls had thought that these were people who were coming to protect them, because they had come saying to them, well, get into a truck because, we hear that there might be an attack on the school. And this was how they were able to shepherd almost 300 young girls into their truck, without many of them making a B-way for escape. And that's what they said to us. They said to us, if we had electricity, we would have seen that these were not the usual soldiers that were within our communities and that were mandated to protect us. But we had no idea until we were in the truck that we were being kidnapped. And that was because it was so dark and we could not see. So I think the story is important because, part of the problem with communities like Chibok is the fact that, first of all, grid electricity isn't going to get to them, not in another 30 years, and maybe, not in another 50 years. But we see the opportunity for decentralized renewables to be the way that these communities are electrified. And also imagine the story of 300 girls being within a terrorist camp, kidnapped while they were within study period, studying for exams. So these are future doctors, these are future physicists, these are future engineers, these are future, innovators who probably might never have a chance to be any of those things just because, there wasn't electricity. And I think this was such a powerful story, and it was such a powerful comeback from the girls who were speaking to us that day, because it showed us what we should be doing and why there should be a sense of urgency in the way that we're driving DRE in countries like Nigeria. The next few slides, and I'm about to round up very quickly because I think the other speakers have done a good job about laying the land about what the benefits and opportunities are for young girls and women, is that we want to change the landscape. We want to change the landscape. You can see from this picture, you see doctors in Nigeria actually operating, doing procedures with the use of torch lights and cell phone lights. And we want to change this landscape because imagine in Lagos State where we had Solar Nigeria, a DFID-funded program in partnership with Lagos State, actually electrify all the health centers in that state. What they have been able to do is to make sure that they've decreased maternal mortality and that the response time for emergency teams in hospitals are at par with many of the more developed countries. And we want to make sure that kids are able to learn that what happened in Chibok never happens again, that children are able to learn in a safe, wholesome environment and not with a torchlight. We also want to make sure, you see this picture with the old woman and her laptop. What it doesn't show is that the laptop is being powered by a little solar system, that people are able to actually do productive things in the way that more developed societies are able to do rather than live under a candlelight. So in summary, what we're trying to do in practical ways with Power for All is to make sure that women continue to be disruptors in these sectors, that we continue to advocate and publicize the work they do as disruptors, as innovators in the DRE space. We continue to showcase them as leaders and champions. We continue to engage policymakers to make sure that issues around gender and social inclusiveness are mainstreamed into many of the policies that are coming out, and that we encourage DRE to be mainstream along with the growth of the grid at the same time, so that exactly what happened at Chibok never happened again. So I'm going to end there, and I'll be happy to take questions when all of the other presentations are over. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ife. That was a really fantastic presentation, and thank you for not only linking in kind of the policy element, but also giving us some of this background on Chibok. I think probably a lot of us in the audience didn't know that aspect of the story, and that's actually a really, really important point, and indeed very, very crucial to share these stories with the audience. So thank you. So we will now move to our fourth and our last presenter. Simbo, are you there on the line?
I am here.
Hi, welcome. So we're just going to be moving over to your screen, and we're going to hear a bit about Solar Sister. I think probably quite a few of the people in the audience know a bit about Solar Sister, but at the same time, we're really interested to hear some of the stories. I know you all have a lot of great examples, so we're really looking forward to hearing more about those, and in East Africa as well as West Africa. So thanks for joining us here today. Okay, perfect. That's looking to be full screen now. So thanks for joining us, and I will let you continue your presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Molly. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our participants from around the world. It's great to speak last because I have to say the least, because my co-speakers have already really tackled what the problem is and how how women are the solution. So thank you, Fatima, Sajina, and Ife for your presentations. So I wouldn't really delve much into the problem statement, but the key issue that we've identified, and all three of us, or all four of us, is that energy poverty is a gender issue, and it affects women worse than it affects men. And for us at Solar Sister, it is having women being the solution, positioning women to be the solution to this problem that we've stated. And for us, for Solar Sister, we have a mission of eradicating energy poverty by empowering women with economic opportunity. And we're doing this by combining the breakthrough potential of solar technology with a deliberately woman-centered direct sales network. And we're doing this in order to bring light, hope, and opportunity to even the most remote communities in rural Africa. At the moment, we're operating in Nigeria, in Uganda, and in Tanzania. And our product portfolio includes improved and fuel-efficient cook stoves powered by charcoal and firewood. And in terms of our sales or distribution model, we are modeled after Avon Cosmetics. Basically just having this very personal woman-to-woman sales kind of explanation and network, and having women being central and integral to this whole process. And how does it work? For Solar Sister, we believe in strengthening the entire ecosystem of women's access to sustainable energy and opportunities. So, and we're doing this with 4 building blocks. So we're looking at the products. We know that our customers are essentially off-grid, bottom of the pyramid customers, and it's essential when you're dealing with clients from the bottom of the pyramid that we have quality, durable, and affordable products to offer to them. So all our entrepreneurs have the assurance that any product that they are carrying has the necessary certification and quality that is needed. So in terms of the solar lights, we refer to the IFC Light in Africa certification and make sure that all our lights carry that certification. Same for cook stoves. All the manufacturers are registered with the Global Alliance for Clean Cook Stoves or the Nigerian Alliance for Clean Cook Stoves to give it this the quality assurance. One of the things we also offer is warranty. All the products have a minimum of 1-year warranty to guarantee that within the 1 year that the customer has invested money for that product, that they're able to have full use of it, and if anything happens to it, it is refunded. The next building block for us would be our team. We believe in having a gender-inclusive workforce, and this is at all levels. So Solar Sister is passionate about advancing women's leadership, starting from our CEO and our founder, who's a woman, the chair of our board, through to our staff. It's really important for us that women are centered or are positioned to take advantage of this clean economy or that is coming. Ify talked about the potential of the sector, and it's very important that women are positioned to be able to reap the benefits of this sector. It's also about creating green jobs and enterprise skills for women. And the third building block for us is our entrepreneurs. These are independent clean energy businesses, so women at the last mile, at the bottom of the pyramid, organizing themselves and having a business where they not only earn an income, but they're impacting their community. For us, we also have dedicated staff that recruit, train, and support the entrepreneurs. And so it's not just the relationship is very ongoing, very continuous, very coach and mentor-mentee type of relationship, because it's important for us not just that they're involved in the program, but that they are growing in their businesses. And we also have developed training modules. When we started, we had training modules that included a lot of finance management, business skills, how to sell, those type of topics to help build the professional capacity of our entrepreneurs. But more recently, we found that the agency empowerment training is equally as important as that. So having women building their self-worth, their personal capacity, we've seen goes hand in hand in ensuring that their businesses are successful, and we've been doing more and more of that lately. In terms of how many entrepreneurs we have over 2,500 registered at the moment, span across the 3 countries that we operate in, which are Nigeria, Uganda, and Tanzania. And for us, the fourth building block is partnerships, is communities, and partnership is essential to that. So our relationship goes beyond just us as Solar Sister or even the entrepreneurs, but how the ripple effect affects the community. And we see that the benefits of solar lights goes beyond just the income and providing the light, but also we've seen the educational benefits for the children, we've seen the health benefits, and a lot more. And in terms of partners, so there's the partnership with the community, but we also have our international partners who have recognized, you know, the need to work in the network and to promote women's economic empowerment. And one of such partners is the Energia network, and we're part of the Women Economic Empowerment Program along with Copenhagen, and I noticed that they mentioned that in their presentation as well. And under this partnership, what we're doing is Nigeria and Indonesia and all the areas that we are, but I don't think our story is being told well enough. So if you go to our website, for instance, I think Molly will help with the link, you can see we have 6 stories of entrepreneurs that shares their journey and how they have found the experience of being entrepreneurs. And you'll see that the impact goes beyond just income. It involves women's leadership, communication, there's an impact on education, business growth, and most of all for us, there's this sisterhood and support, which is really key to us as Solar Sister. We put a lot of emphasis on our support and our sisterhood, and how we essentially are cheerleaders for each other. So if we look through, also on our website, we have just done a qualitative assessment, which we launched recently by the ICRW in the US, but basically showing how the program is affecting the lives of the entrepreneurs and the impact. And with this, you can just see a spectrum of a sisterhood group. So Solar Sister Entrepreneurs belong to a sisterhood group, which is essentially their support group to help resolve issues with the business, but also to build that relationship and that network in the community. And you see that even though these are 5 independent women having their independent businesses, they're able to come together, laugh, and help each other along that journey. And lastly, I just want to introduce you to one of our entrepreneurs in Tanzania, called Teresia. And you can see on the left, this is when she started as her very first inventory. And in the beginning, we did also an aspiration. So what does she want to get out of Solar Sister? And in her map, in her goal setting map, and Solar Sister, we call it Dream Weaver. So she was able to weave her dream of what she wants. She wanted to build a house, and you can see her current house now. And in the next picture, you can see how far she has gone exclusively with her Solar Sister proceeds from her business and how she's building this house. And this is just a tidbit of one of the impacts that we can see, and also proving that when women have aspirations, many times it goes beyond themselves. It's affecting their whole community. It's affecting their families, their husbands, their children. I know she's not going to live in this house by herself. So it all puts it together that empowering the woman is empowering the whole community and goes beyond that one person. So I just want to stop there because
unmuted.
Other panelists have really delved into the matter, but I think this just really highlights how important women are to the problem of energy poverty and solving the problem of energy poverty. So over to you, Molly.
Oh, thank you so much, Simbo. Thanks for that insight into women entrepreneurs, and those are fantastic stories. And I do encourage everyone to please have a look at at your chat box, and you'll see the link www.solarsister.org/stories, and just above that you should be able to see the links as well to the Copernic Wonder Woman videos. So please do have a look at all of those stories, and thank you, Simbo. So I think now what we're going to do is to go through the Q&A session. Thank you everyone for sticking around. I know we've run a bit over time, but at the same time I think there are so many people still here and very interested in this topic. I'd just like to run through one series of questions. So if that's fine, Fatima, I'm going to start with you if that's all right. There was one question. You've already answered it directly to the person, but I think it's of interest to the whole audience if that's all right. So Fatima, the question that we have for you is that I'd like to hear more about how agricultural waste is collected and if the community receives any compensation from the company for providing the waste, either as cash or through reductions in their electricity tariff. Thank you. So Fatima, could you address that?
Thank you, Molly. Currently, we've gotten up to 90% of our waste from the slaughterhouse. which is just nearby this community. We do not pay for the waste itself. We only pay for the collection and logistics to get this waste collected into. So currently what they do is they just throw this waste outside. It's just there. You can see waste from up to 3 years ago just piled up there doing nothing, which creates a challenge to the slaughterhouses and to these communities because they do not have an alternative use of it. So what we pay them for, it's for them to bag up the waste, and then we pay for the logistics to get it to our biodigesters. So we do not actually pay for the waste itself.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm just going to then move to our next presenter, who's Sergina. Hi, Sergina.
Hi.
Are you there with me? Hi. So we had a couple of questions come through for you. I think people are curious about the business model of Copernic itself and understanding a little bit who the women are selling to, and also do they pay for the products up front, or do you provide the products on credit? So maybe just a little bit of background about Copernic's business model and as well the business model of the women entrepreneurs.
Thank you. So Copernic itself is like the business model of Copernic is actually a hybrid philanthropy business model. This is like really our approach. So we deliver the innovative technologies that is financed upfront by philanthropic support from foundations, corporations, or even individuals. So in this case, the Wonder Woman program is funded by Energia, and the technologies are sold at as close to retail price as possible. Then revenue from product sales is reinvested in additional projects like a revolving microfinance fund. Then we believe that this both a pure philanthropic approach and completely business model have their own limitation in alleviating poverty and improving lives. So this business model also applies in our Wonder Woman program. And for example, while we believe that cash is an obvious preferred choice of payment for our Wonder Women or micro-social entrepreneurs, but some are actively offering installment and layaway schemes to attract households of lower income levels and less stable cash flow. So the installment scheme is a preferred payment method among many poor people in Indonesia. However, the products cost much more than typical items available to be purchased in installments, and hence are not very compatible with the cash flow reality of the last mile communities. So basically, we have two types of payment. So one is micro consignment. So the women receive their technologies. So it's the term of 30 days of payment. But then also we started to have cash, like we are piloting the cash and carry now. So it really depends on the Wonder Woman when they have their money. We start also to work with microfinance institution starting this year. So basically we trying both, and we like installment and also consignment installment and also cash and carry. And the targets are people who live in the last mile. So people, because most of the Wonder Women, they live in the last mile communities, like rural areas in Indonesia. So they're selling the technologies to their neighbors, to their relatives, to their families, and then from one people to another people, then they sell these technologies even more and more because people are talking about these technologies. Does that answer your question, Molly?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gina. So I am just going to keep moving through the Q&A because we've got questions rolling in. Feel free to continue sending in those questions. I'm going to move over, if I can just do this. I'm just going to ask Ifemalo a question. Let me see. Sorry, I'm just having a minor technical issue Iffy, if you can hear me, you can unmute yourself. Or let me see. Sorry, this is wonderful.
I can hear.
Thank you so much. Just a minor technical issue on my end. So the question that I wanted to ask you, and you've already, again, you've answered the person privately, but I think people are probably interested to hear that as well. This question about Nigeria being such a large producer of oil and gas, is it difficult to introduce your technology and to be competitive and sustainable?
So yes, it is a challenge, but we do not see ourselves in direct competition with the grid utility scale oil and gas companies that use gas to generate electricity. We rather see ourselves as complementary, because the truth is, and they're beginning to recognize, because we're working with a lot of government stakeholders, including the rural electrification agencies and the regulator, NERC, to say that many of these off-grid last-mile communities aren't going to get electrified with the grid, not in any 30 years. They even have projections that show this. So what we're saying to them is, well, then how then can you support, being governments, how then can you support decentralized renewables to get to these last-mile communities, and then use that pending whenever the grid does get to them. So it's an ongoing conversation. We do see ourselves as complementary, but like I said, it's trying to get policymakers to change their thinking about how they see DRE within Nigeria. And it'll continue to be an ongoing conversation. But with the way that things are happening now with the grid, I mean, there's very low reliability with our grid. I think most people are beginning to come around, so that even in urban areas, not to talk of last-mile communities, there is a lot of, second look being given to the decentralized renewable industry.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we're talking mostly about off-grid and last-mile communities, but you're right, the urban and peri-urban areas, as we all know, in a lot of developing countries don't have reliable energy access either. So thank you for making that point. Thank you. So now I will just move to Simbo to ask her a question. Hi, Simbo, are you there on the line?
Hi, I'm here.
Hi. So we had a question as well about the business model of Solar Sister. Could you tell us a little bit? I know you gave a little bit of an idea of it kind of being like Avon, but perhaps you can give people a little bit more of an idea also about kind of the mentorship and these types of things that exist in your business model.
So for us, our Solar Sister team would go into a community to recruit Solar Sister entrepreneurs, which I'll call SSEs. And when these SSEs come on board, they fill out an application or along with the associate, who would tell them, give them the basic training about who we are and what we do. And they sign up. There are two different ways in which they could sign up. They could either buy two products, any two products of their choice, or buy an inventory of 20,000 naira to start up, to launch them. And with that, we'd start with giving them the necessary tools that they need. So they get a kit which has their swag, they get a t-shirt, their site seller, which is the tool in which they used to sell, and a bag and the things that they would need. And once they are launched, they are assigned to a sisterhood group, which is usually by geographic location, where they get to have sisterhood meetings where they have their trainings, their ongoing trainings every month. And we have developed training modules, calendars of several different topics spanning from their personal development to agency leadership, as well as finance management, customer service, money management, how to sell, training that goes along with the package which they learn on an ongoing basis. So I think that's kind of like the skeletal breakthrough of how the model works and how an entrepreneur can come to join the Solar Sister Network.
Thank you, Simbo. Thanks very much for that insight into how Solar Sister works. So We have one question here. I'm going to come back to Fatima, and thank you everyone for staying with us. And if you do need to go, don't worry. This is all being recorded. It will be available online shortly and will be sent to you via email tomorrow. But I wanted to ask you, Fatima, I wanted to ask you a question here that we've just had. And it's this question about, okay, you know, we have several women here on our panel today who are working as entrepreneurs, who are working with entrepreneurs, and what are the main challenges that you face working in the renewable energy sector, and what has helped you overcome these challenges? Because I know you've done quite a lot of work on agriculture already, and now you're getting the biogas and biodigester system off the ground. Could you talk a little bit to the challenges that you've faced and how you've overcome them?
Yeah, I think, you know, being a woman anywhere, most especially in doing projects in rural communities has its challenges. So I will share with you my first experience. So the first time I went into the community to speak to the chief, when I was still doing visibility study to see what community would be most visible for this project, we got a bit of a pushback, not just because it was a woman leading the team, but also because the community had also had experiences with people coming in to tell them about projects they wanted to do and not getting off the ground. I would actually say in this situation, being a woman helped me more also to overcome this challenge, because when I was able to explain and relate more to the community head why I really wanted to do this and why we were picking his community, why we needed to speak to those people in the community, I think he really could see through the sincerity and the passion that I had for the project, and he was able to, we were both able to get over the challenge, him not wanting more foreigners or outsiders coming into his community and promising things that would happen, and him looking at me as a woman trying to impose business or something into his community. And I would say the second challenge is, which maybe not particularly to women, is just doing an energy project in an off-grid community is relatively new, I would say. So it comes with its own challenges, but then having a good plan and also having the knowledge would help you push back through some of these challenges. And having a woman, I would say, lead, in my own case, this organization, it's really also spreading out the word that energy poverty is a woman issue. I've just finished a program, Mandela Washington Fellowship at UC Davis, where we had a session on women and gender, and we had most of the male people in class still not realizing how gender and energy interrelate and the issues being there. So I think I would want to encourage more women to go into the energy sector, and you don't have to be a technical person. I personally have a business background, but I'm doing biogas and energy projects. But having that passion and knowing the potential impact your business can have on the community, not just creating access to electricity, but access to social and economic development for this community, I would say has helped me push through any of the challenges, because then I'm not just looking at the short run of it, I'm looking at the longer run, what access to electricity means for these communities.
Well, thank you so much, Fatima. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons we wanted to hold this webinar today, was exactly to share this kind of story about, you know, the challenges that you face, but also how being a woman can benefit you. And as well, I really appreciate your call for women as well to join you in the sector as well. I think that's really important to encourage that, and to be clear that it's not only a technical profession, but also something related to policy, something related to livelihoods, and as well to yeah, really to so many aspects of life. So thank you so much for that contribution.
You're welcome.
So next we're going to, I just want to bring Gina on the line here. Gina, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, so I just wanted to
ask
ask.
a lot of questions for our Wonder Women.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I was curious to ask you a quick question here that is about, okay, given the pluses of involving women in last mile delivery, what will it take for more technology suppliers to tap into women as part of the supply chain more proactively than what is happening currently? And I think that Copernic and you are very well placed to address that question. Could you give us some insight on that?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Yes, of course. So
yeah.
the question is, what is it going to take for more technology suppliers really to tap into women as part of the supply chain, something that you guys have already done? What do you think it's going to take for other businesses to really see the benefit of really involving women at a very fundamental level, perhaps even in the production of the technology, not only the distribution? What do you think about that?
So what we, like, I think I've mentioned it briefly during my presentation about the supply chain management. So like, the problem is, even though there are so many technologies, like simple technologies, let's say solar light, exists out there, the big problem or the big challenge is that these technologies are not reaching the last mile communities, right? So what we have been doing is that we look for these technologies and we look for the producer and the distributor, and we try to contact them. We try to bargain, because most of the time we buy the technologies in bulk. So then usually we get also a good price. Then it takes months also to get it in Indonesia. Most of the time we get our technologies like solar lights from China or from India. Then it will arrive in the big city, like in the big port in one of the big cities in Indonesia, like Jakarta or Surabaya. Then it will take another month to get it delivered to our Wonder Women, to our warehouse in the field. So basically, these Wonder Woman play like really important roles, because it's them who distribute this technology to the last mile, and it's them who promote these technologies that help the people in the last mile to have access to these technologies. So basically, we are playing our role as the extended hand from the distributors, and the Wonder Woman who plays the bigger part and bigger roles of this distribution, actually. Do I answer your question?
Yeah, and just a very quick follow-up question. Just to know, who are the women who are chosen as part of the Wonder Women program, and are they already entrepreneurs, or is that something new for them normally when they come into the program?
So the Wonder Women profiles are actually mixed. Some of them are already entrepreneurs, meaning that they have like small food stalls, or they have small grocery store. But most of them are actually inexperienced individuals. So then this comes the challenge, right? Because when they do not have experience, even though they are already trained in sales and marketing, for example, but they need times to be able to manage by themselves. Then that's why we have our field staff who are providing them support, like continued support, and mentoring them in their business development.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think that's very useful, and we do have quite a few questions for you. So also, everybody still on the line, we will also try to answer those post-webinar as well. So we'll try to answer those to you via email if we don't get to your question during the webinar. Next up, I'd like to, let's see, I think we may have lost, we may have lost Ife, but maybe just to close, Simbo, are you there on the line? So could
Yes,
I just,
I'm here.
oh, hi. I just wanted to address that question that we had earlier about the challenges for women, or as well maybe the benefits of being a woman in terms of working in distributed renewable energy. Could you speak maybe a little bit to your experience or to some of the experiences you know about through Solar Sister?
So, benefits of being a woman. So, like has been stated, because the issues of poor lighting in the home and cooking and fetching wood and all the problems that around that are usually the brunt bared on women. It's easy for women to access other women with a solution. And if you look at Nigeria or Tanzania or some of the other places where we work, where some of the communities that are really like religious communities with a lot of barriers into getting into homes, women are able to have access to other women. So looking at Nigeria, say like the northern part of the country where it would be difficult for a man to enter into another man's home to sell any type of product, that barrier is removed for women. So you find that there's a lot of direct selling, and there's a benefit there of the women reaching the women, and also just personalizing the stories so that it's easier for other women to relate to it. So in terms of distribution and sales of this technology, I feel like women are the best placed people to be able to push the technology and sell the technology and also access other women and relate to them. So for me, we've seen success there in terms of accessing other women and educating other women about a solution that directly relates to them and speaks to a problem that they've dealt with for a long time.
Thank you so much, Simbo. Thank you. I think here at this point, as we have gone well over time, but this is really due to the audience's enthusiasm. Thank you so much for all of your questions. And as I said, if we didn't get to it, we'll try to get to it via email as well. And you can contact me as well. I'll just put my email here in the chat box as well. If there are any questions following the webinar, feel free to get in touch. And I will also try to point you to the right speaker if you have follow-up questions. So that's my email there. And if I can ask you just one thing, if you stay on just another minute, or perhaps you can do it tomorrow, there's a survey. We'd just like to know what you thought of the webinar today. And we really hope that you enjoyed it. This has really been an excellent turnout and a lot of audience involvement, and we really appreciate you being here today. I will just take our speakers off of mute here and say thank you to all of you. Thank you for joining us today, Fatima, Simbo, Sergina, and also Ify. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so
for
much.
having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm glad to answer questions through emails.
Absolutely. We will be sure to share any of the questions with you, and you can respond by email. So thank you so much for being here today. Thanks to everyone in the audience for being a fantastic audience. And we hope to see you in our next webinar. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.